All right, let's get started. The formation of public opinion. I will be asking on y'all to help me out. Y'all like how I did this with the Legos? Y'all like my little Legos? Did y'all ever notice my little Lego over here about Spot the refugee? Okay. So if you don't know, I like Legos. All right. Come on, move. All right. What is public opinion? First off, public opinion is really just opinions, right? Attitudes held by people, the populace, and the voting individuals. So specifically, I'm reading off what it says here. Public opinion is opinions or attitudes held by a significant number of people on matters or issues related to government, such as abortion, terrorism, global warming. Public opinion is huge right now. Everybody got me on that? Let's look at an example of just yesterday's Super Bowl. Y'all ready for this? You ready? Yesterday's Super Bowl. So today is February 10th, 2025. Yesterday's Super Bowl was the performance as far as the halftime show was performed by who? Kendrick Lamar. Now, let's be very clear. That performance was not for everybody. It was for a certain demographic. It was for a certain culture. And most likely, if you didn't like the performance, you have various reasons, but most likely you also part not culture because the symbolism things like that was very there. What I just gave you an example of is public opinion. If you go on social media, that's what you see. Either people loved it or hated it, no in between. And typically, they also coincide, unfortunately, with age and political identifiers. See, I got me on that? Typically, not all, okay? But again, the idea of public opinion, how people saw what he did, and again, and people looking at deeper, like me and my wife, we was watching like, oh my God, did he just do this? Like it would never be another one of those kind of because he did so many things. It was like, oh my God, they let him get away with this. And again, if you watch it, particularly if it took me for AP American Studies or things like that, you see what I'm talking about as far as culture. But that's still public opinion. Does that make sense on that? It's based on how people view and their opinions on things. Now, do those opinions got to be rooted in facts? No. It can be just because I feel that way. Does everybody got me on that? It can be rooted in whatever they want, which is a good and bad thing about public opinion. We have to understand, you do need to know that public opinion do dictate politics and government. Now, review question. What is government compared to politics? So what is the function of government? So speak really loud for me. Go ahead.
Government is like laws, while politics is how the public, like politics is how the public affects the government.
Well, government is the laws, right? So government is the Constitution. Everybody got that? Politics is how we now interpret and use the Constitution. Does that make sense? Public opinion impacts both of those. Everybody clear there? Make sense so far? Any questions? Okay. It's like one of the few times I actually have a PowerPoint, and I do not know how to use PowerPoint. All right. So, what are some of the most popular public opinion issues? These are all different. They're not the same no more. This is 2025. So much has changed. We now have FEMA in there. Like, what is the role of FEMA? You got, of course, immigration is also be there because going back to Aiden Sedition Act under John Adams, we also got an issue with that. Gun control. Okay, I'm just tired of gun control. Nobody do gun control. Okay, nobody does that topic. I am over gun control stuff. Climate change. We just came out of the Paris Accords again. You have education. The people don't now keep this on. People want to get rid of the Department of Education. Does everybody got me on that? And here's the crazy thing: the Department of Education is really more so for protection for civil rights and special needs and disabilities. Does everybody got me on that? Go back to public opinion, right? Because you align with a certain group, your public opinion says, "Yeah, get rid of the Department of Education," and then you got a special needs kid. That ain't gonna go too well together. The reason I say that because education in most states is all funded by local dollars. Everybody got me on that? So it's already a local issue. Health for the economy, that's a hard one because some people doing good, some people not doing so good. It's kind of hard for that one. The death penalties always been a topic. Healthcare, no more healthcare topics either, please. I'm sorry, but that's just kind of getting overboard too. Abortion, last year killed me with abortion because almost everybody want to do abortion somewhere on that one. Can anybody else give me some different popular public opinion topics that are being discussed right now? What you got? Tariffs, yes, tariffs is another big one, right? Because that also goes into inflation, and that kind of goes back into the health of the economy, right? So if you're gonna do health economy, doing tariffs make me happy. Okay, but that's another one. Anybody else got one? Minimum wage is a big one too. That's the economy, right? As far as the minimum wage nationally is still like $7. Where in this country can you live off $7 an hour? I don't think you can do that in Montana. I'm not talking bad about nobody in Montana, but you're not specific places like New York and LA. What's another one, y'all? Huh? DEI is a topic, but if you do, okay, Dr. Titwell's degrees are in Black Studies with a focus in law. Does everybody got me on that? If you do DEI, please don't be biased because I'm going to hit it. Does everybody got that? Just give you a warning because DEI is seen as one thing, but that is another topic. Um, that this is I'll suggest straight away from just for your idea of Dr. Titwell, but I gave you a lot of materials on DEI too. What you about to say? Artificial intelligence is a big, huge one that no one really is talking about as much as they were like a year ago. But AI is another one. So these are all different issues that people got topics on, right? Okay. And again, also even foreign policy. What is the United States foreign policy? That's a big topic. We've been talking about a lot of stuff we do in the Middle East, so that's a topic too. Talk about immigration. We do all know that certain immigrants are okay compared to other ones, right? There's certain immigrants like, hey, come on in, we're cool, no problem. Other ones like, we don't want you. That's a topic to be discussed too, and that comparison is not something I've seen in research yet at any level where I teach. Everybody wants to talk about immigration, but we do never talk about the differentiation of between the good versus the bad immigrant, quote unquote. Y'all got me on that? So that's another topic. Again, I use that in quotes because it's based off popular opinion, right? Or public opinion. Are we all good here? Yep. All right. So now, why does public opinion matter? Well, you got three reasons. Okay, I just want to read the first one.
Citizens' political actions, who they will vote for, are driven by their opinions.
Who you vote for will be based off public opinion. Is everybody got me on that? Y'all follow me there? Now, this is the poli side of me coming out. Kamala Harris had a very hard chance winning. Why? She got started so late. And she didn't get through the first time the primary she went through. She had everything going against her. Everybody got me on that? So it was already going to be hard. So the idea of public opinion, like, well, I didn't really ask for you to be here, and then last time I remember you didn't get through the primaries either. She had more going against her than she had going for her. Y'all follow me on that? And again, that's just looking just from the political. Like when I saw that happen, I'm like, Democrats don't know what they're doing. This is a bad idea. It's too late. Now here's the other side of that. If you remember, you go back, go look at the record. Joe Biden ran and say he'd be a transformative president, right? He said he's gonna be here for one term. Then he decided not to be. That was the other problem. Y'all got me on that? Which swayed public opinion. Does everybody got me on that? All right, the second one. Public opinion helps explain the decisions of politicians. I think that's kind of straightforward, yeah? Is that kind of straightforward? Is it public opinion? I mean, a politician is also saying my constituents believe, people in my state believe. They're basing it off of public opinion polls. Now, here's the problem with public opinion polls. They're not always accurate. Y'all follow me on that? We got 9 people in this class right here standing in front of me, right? We do a poll for you for the whole school. You think that's really accurate? That's what some of your polls people follow, though, is. Quantitative research is good and bad with the idea of how big your poll size is. There, got me on that? If I take a poll of how you all feel about PBIS, for example, here at the school, it's only 9 of you. But then I'm gonna let y'all poll be the subject for the whole school. It's not a really good sample size. Y'all follow me on that? But then you also got a problem with a big sample size. That's another issue. Government leaders use public opinion to determine what citizens want them to do about certain issues. How many of you have ever seen your elected officials? But they talk for you every single day. How? Because they look at these poll numbers. And I already told you the problems with those poll numbers, right? We have a representative democracy where we vote for individuals to make decisions for us. The problem with that is we don't really talk to those individuals. And to be frank, to give them kind of some grace, it's going to be kind of hard for them to talk to us anyway because there's so many of us, right? We're spread out. It's a lot of us. But it does make things a little bit more interesting and difficult. Any questions here? Y'all good? Okay. Oh, did I already? Yeah, it did. Okay. All right. So the public opinion spectrum, and this is going to help you with your assignment because this is what you're really looking at. Typically, the liberal left like big government, and typically the conservative right like small government. Typically in quotation marks. See if I got me on that? And then you have a moderate in the middle. Now, as you can see, I told you I like my Legos. I do not like Star Wars, but I thought this would be funny just to look at, okay? On the left side, people who have similar opinions on political issues are generally grouped according to whether they are left, right, or more centered. Everybody got me on that? Now, there's a point in time where our public opinion polls would say most people are moderates. Now we're really one way or another. The moderate is a lot smarter than it used to be. Does that make sense to everybody? And the reason why, social media, I will argue, and how everybody got a voice now. It's just everybody does. And the funny thing is that everybody is not credible. And then the people that are credible become decredible based on people that don't know what credibility is. Y'all see the issue? So it just becomes more and more harder. It used to be if you had a college degree, okay, I'm gonna listen to you, I'm gonna trust you. They ain't got a college degree, who cares? Shut up. Things have changed over time. All right. Most of the time, liberals tend to be vote Democrats and conservatives vote Republicans, and moderates go either way or vote as independents. And again, that little moderate is becoming grayer and grayer. They're still there, but it's just not as much as it used to be because things have become so polarized. Y'all got me on that? Okay. You have no idea how hard I'm trying to stay in the gray on this little line and not go one way or another. This is very hard, just for you know. Any questions so far, though? Okay. For those people taking notes, is it making sense so far? Yes? Okay, good. All right. Now, over the past 25 years, now let me be honest with you. You notice that this is dated. This is up to 2016, right? But just let you know, again, I already told you things have changed, right? But American views. You look at the idea that you have the light green be totally conservative, the dark green will be moderate, and then the light gray will be liberal. But what you're starting to see, they kind of come towards the middle around 2016. Y'all see that? They were coming into each other on different issues. How would you describe your political views? Very conservative, conservative, moderate, liberal, or very liberal? Post 2020, things have changed a lot. And you know what? 2020, a lot went on that year, right? Most importantly, COVID, everybody sat down and stayed at home, right? It's amazing what people do when they can't move. They see a lot of things, right? And some things people are like, you know what? Let's change this. Other people are like, oh, I don't like this. So that changed the way people view things. And a lot of decisions been made based off of that. Are we good so far? Yeah? Okay. All right. So how is your public opinion formed? Be very clear. This is a very rough way. It's not saying it's true for everyone because you know everyone cannot be fit into a box, if you will. But children tend to absorb the political views and attitudes of their parents or caregivers. That's what happens. Does everybody got me on that? My first election, I was 18 years old. I voted the same way my parents did. I trusted my mom, my dad. I did what they did. As I got older, I've moved further and further away from my parents, though. You got me on that to a point. I remember having a vivid fight, not fight, a physical fight disagreement about political issues because I was so different than them. Okay. They also listen to stories of those around them and acquire a basic slant or perspective. You are influenced by the people around you. Me as a teacher has high influence on you because I have degrees in this field and I'm teaching it. That's why it's very important for me to be careful how I use my microphone. Does that make sense, everybody? And I say that to every person you come across with as well. Children of Democrats tend to vote Democrat, and children of Republicans tend to become Republicans, and so on and so forth. Because again, you are a figment of what you've been around. Does that make sense? Now, can that change over time? Most definitely. Does it often change? Most definitely. As you become more educated, your views change. As you gain more wealth, your views change. All these things change. Does everybody make sense on that? One of my best friends always told me, as you get higher in your degree, Friends, friends will constantly come off, but so will your political ideals. Does everybody got me on that? I see the world a lot different now than I did when I was 25. My economics is a lot different than when I was 25. I have a family now. The way I vote is different now. Does that make sense? Because I've seen more and I have different things. It might make at 25 I didn't own a house. Me own a house, I want to make sure I protect my investment. Y'all make sense on that? My kids going to school. So all those things change. Does that make sense? How I speak and how my wife speak in the house, we're very aware that influences our kids. So we're very careful what we say, we don't say. Does that make sense? Now, school is another one because let's be honest, all schools are not equal. They're not. Schools are predominantly funded by tax dollars. And if you look around your school, the more homes you see, the more money you have going to that school because you have more tax dollars. The more apartments you see, less money you have going to those schools because you can have 300 people living in an apartment. That's still one property. That's still only one tax going in. Everybody got me on that? Whereas you might have three homes to be worth more than that one apartment. That's where you see the issues sometimes come into play at with this. But schools impact how you see things as well. Because once you're in schools, children learn the basics of citizenship and the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem and loyalty to a cause or idea. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, right? Y'all follow me on that? You pledge allegiance. Y'all follow? So you immediately learning at a very early age. Children learn knowledge about presidents, history, and begin to form opinions. Not saying all opinions are wrong, not saying all are right, but they start forming opinions because you put in front of information. In upper grades, students begin to share discourse and understand the connection between their world and the rest of the world, forming stronger opinions about events and people. So when you talk about education, for example, you know how people saying, well, let's be honest, people, there's a lot of word that says teachers are indoctrinating kids. This is what they're referring to. Does that make sense to everybody? The fact that I am a teacher that has a very strong ethnic studies and black studies background changes how I see history and politics. Y'all got me on that? Compared to another teacher that went to school solely for poli sci. We see things totally different. The way we teach things is totally different. That's where this comes into play as far as how school impacts public opinion. My students will see things a little different than other students will. Y'all got friends that take poli sci. Are they taking the same kind of stuff we doing? Are we having the same kind of conversations? Different teachers, different people. Does that make sense? All right. Or just American government for that matter. Any questions so far? Y'all good? Mass media. Oh my gosh. We have to make sure we include social media. Now, let's be clear about social media. What you have on social media is really up to you, right? We do know that, right? We create our own algorithm. So if we don't want to see something, it won't be there. If we want to see something, it will be there. But mass media has a big influence on how people see things because we continue to spread and it becomes even easier to reach masses of people simultaneously. Social media especially has continued to gain in popularity and it's often used by special interest groups to form public opinions and to survey it. Let's be very clear. Barack Obama was one of the first politicians to use X or was known as Twitter. Now guess what everybody uses? Social media. Does everybody got me on that? Barack Obama was the first one to really, I mean, others used it, but he used it. That was his base of his campaign back in '08. And now everybody else is using this just as well. Okay. Um, want to know about the thing, excuse me, want to know what someone thinks about the border wall? Check social media accounts so you can see what they think. Everybody got me on that? And let's be clear. Typically, we follow or we're friends with people that think like us, right? But then goes again, like I said, the whole Kendrick Lamar thing. Only time I use Twitter or X is because I want to see what people are saying as far as profiles, right? Go see what is trending. I guarantee you see a whole bunch of different things about that Kendrick Lamar performance. That makes sense? And somewhere in the middle is actually how people really felt about it. But mass media, particularly social media, is huge and influence public opinion. Y'all with me so far? In Georgia, still talking about education. AP African American Studies has been a class that's been a pilot for like the last 3 or 4 years. It was never given full AP designation. In fact, At one point, it was said it wasn't going to give it the AP designation. That means if you want to teach a class, you teach it like as an honors course. We don't give you AP credit for it. Because of mass protests and people demonstrating an outcry, they changed that opinion to where this year now you get full credit for the AP class. Certain districts are still piloting that class, meaning it's not even offered. Does everybody got me on that? But here's the catch: that was a big deal in June. Does anybody talk about it now? In January? So that's something you want to keep in mind. Public opinion changes like the wind. Does everybody follow me on that? Does that make sense? Because it changes quickly. It can be a big deal today. So someone said DEI, right? Well, at one point it was critical race theory. I remember that one. Now it's DEI. It's gonna be something else again later on. But it's always changing. Does that make sense? Okay. Now your peers and your leaders, y'all know y'all influenced by your friends, right? Your friends influence you. How you see things politically, socially, the homies influence you. Also, leaders influence you. How they say things, if they're being truthful or not, it influences you. Makes you think. Particularly based on your education. If you can't, now be everybody clear this. Be very clear. You can find out anything right now on a computer or a cell phone. You can fact check everybody. You can fact check me right now. But do we typically do that? Not so much. Okay. So your peers is the people you most associate with, include your classmates, friends, co-workers, and neighbors. Now let's be some of it. Now let's think about yourselves. The level of double consciousness that so many of us have. Are you one way in front of this group, another way with someone else? It's a rhetorical question, but think about that. Double consciousness. Some of the W. Du Bois has said that, and I'm kind of using them out more in politics side. You are acting one way when you're around a certain group, and then you get around another group, you act something totally different. Y'all follow me on that? How many of us do that? Peer groups generally tend to share many of the same experiences and often share the same viewpoints. They may even come from the same communities or even the same neighborhoods. Contradictory opinions are often not heard in a peer group because people want to be naturally, quote unquote, be liked by their peers. I am from a neighborhood that was not too far from Compton, California. So when I see Kendrick Lamar, I'm seeing it from a totally different lens. Everybody got me on that? Like he grew up after I got out, but I still know that neighborhood. So when I see that, I'm like, oh my God, he doing this, doing this. I'm like, I'm hearing the music. I see things differently because I'm from that neighborhood, from that different culture. So that influences how people opinion. So that influenced my public opinion on that concert. That makes sense, everybody? Community leaders, including pastors, politicians, movie stars, television personalities, and their views often shape those who follow or listen to them because I'm listening to the music. You got me on that? I'm watching a TV show. All that influences me. So that all also influences you. You can tell a lot by, if I give you a poll right now, tell me 5 shows you watch, I'll be able to say so much from you about who you are as a person. Give me 5 artists you listen to, I'll be able to say so much about who you are as a person. Y'all got me on that? Y'all remember that soundtrack that y'all did? That was setting y'all up. Because I can tell a lot about y'all political views based off those soundtracks. You got me on that? I'm not gonna look at every single song. I don't have to. I look at 3 of those. Everything. I have a pretty good assumption of who you are politically, because you're gonna be influenced by what you listen to. Does that make sense? It don't mean it's a good or bad thing. It just means okay. That allows me to now know how I'm gonna go for the rest of the course, though. That's why I always put that in there, right, almost at the middle of the course, because then I know what's gonna happen when we get to different areas. All right, late major events. If you just went through a hurricane or a flood, you're gonna be influenced, aren't you? Yes. And if you've never been through one, you're gonna be influenced, aren't you? And let's be honest, can we get to the point? A lot of people have never been through a natural disaster, but even more people are being through natural disasters. That makes sense? Because as people, as a world, we get more and more people, we'll be more and more susceptible to natural disasters. But if you've never ever experienced a natural disaster in your life, you cannot possibly understand a person that went through one. Does that make sense? Your public opinions will be totally different. Things like FEMA. As a person, have you ever dealt with a natural disaster? That makes sense. You just remember the wildfires. Let's think about this for the wildfires. Do fires just happen? or do they have to have something to ignite them? Right? Have we heard anything about what ignited all these fires? We talk about the outcome. We're not talking about the anything. Like, how did it start? Because keep this in mind. How many do y'all have? Do we have you seen a windy day? Did it always come with a fire? No. Something had to happen, right? But we're never talking about that. But we talk about the aftermath of it. Does that make sense to everybody? But now, guess what? All those people now is dealing with natural disaster. They see things different than everybody that's not. Does that make sense? Everybody follow? And then they still dealing because guess what? Those are still mountains and hills, and it rains. Where the water go when it rains? Up or down? Down. If you're on the hill, guess what's gonna happen now? It'll still flow down. So it's a continuous battle. You follow me on that? People that live in Florida is like, oh, well, it's their fault. They want to live on the beach. Okay, but it's still they just went through a hurricane. Can we give them some kind of sympathy? That's still their home. Does that make sense? All right. So that's one right there. You all lived through COVID, right? True or false? Y'all see the world different than anybody's gonna come in the next 15, 10 years. Because you lived through what? COVID. Did they live through COVID? They lived through the aftermath of what happened with COVID, right? But y'all lived through it. You remember having to wear a mask, right? You remember actually being scared of getting sick. You saw tons of people get sick, right? And it influenced you, does it not? Think about this. How often now do you actually wash your hands more? To this day, my wife still wipes down everything we get from the store. No matter what, she wipes it down. And again, I get it because, let's be honest, people are nasty. You drop something, put it right back on the shelf. Like, I get it. But to this, she never did that before COVID, though. At least not to this degree. Does that make sense? We always wash our fruit. That's the difference. I'm talking about a tissue box. That's going to be wiped off, sterilized. And I get it. Because, again, if you go, I'm going to say this, to be honest. Go to the grocery store and stand there for 15 minutes and look how much nastiness occurs. I get it. But we didn't do that like this before COVID, though. So you are innately changed. My kids are innately changed. They know what to do because they do that. People are now more aware of online work. And guess what? Online work has always been a big deal before COVID. But it was no choice after COVID. Does that make sense? So that major events do impact you. And it changes how you perceive things. Okay? Almost done. So that's it. Questions, concerns? Do y'all feel like you understand the basis of public opinion now? Yep. Okay, great. Give yourselves a round of applause. That was a worst round of applause ever.